Let's do it. DFW Real Estate Weekly. I am Todd Tremonti. We've got a full studio. We've got the Yanni Donnie, the English wonder himself. We've got full price Courtney in studio, ready to rock, microphones ready. Lots to talk about in DFW Real Estate this week, whether we're talking about the DFFW, Dallas, Frisco, Fort Worth. Trying to rebrand the Metroplex over here. Been saying that for years, by the way. Or we're talking about the spring real estate market. That's right, the spring real estate market. We are there as far as the real estate side goes. Obviously, depending on when you've been outside, it is not officially spring yet, but it is very much the spring real estate market. And honestly, the window of opportunity for the spring market is actually coming to a close. So we'll get into that as well as your questions here on the show. 214-310-0008. Call or text any question about buying, selling, remodeling, enjoying, downsizing, upsizing, or anything else related to you owning, renting, or living in your home. You can go to toddtremonti.team.com or call or text 214-310-0008.
As always, the first segment of the show is brought to you by Patrick Gleros and his entire team over at Cardinal Financial. You can go to patrickgleros.com where you can start an application, whether you're looking to get a mortgage, refinance, maybe you're looking for an investment property. Patrick's a great resource. You should talk to him. patrickgleros.com, G-L-A-R-O-S, patrickgleros.com, 972-728-3420, NMLS number 308804, and go to toddtremonti.team.com. Click that radio tab, and you can find information on all of our recommended pros and vendors.
That's what I do. Those are the people that I use. Those are the people that in and out of our house. GoodGarageFloors.com was over at the house just a couple of months back doing new coating on the garage floors. Hopefully they'll be out this week to do the sport court in the back for the kids, getting a little pickleball cleanup and some basketball touch-ups as well. And if you have any needs in that regard, you should reach out to goodgaragefloors.com, as well as anybody else on that list. If you go to toddtremonti.team.com, click on the radio tab. Those are the people that we're introducing our friends, family, neighbors, clients to all the time, that we're personally using all the time, and you can benefit from that as well. toddtremonti.team.com, click the radio tab.
Is the Dallas housing market overvalued? That's a question that we had come in.
Do you want a quick radio answer, or do you want a long blog article answer?
Go with the long.
Okay.
Make it interesting.
Here's the thing. That is an opinion. There is no fact there. Like, overpriced relative to something, that's a comparison. That's so I think most people would agree that the DFW real estate market is more expensive than it used to be. Some areas lost a little bit of value for a little bit of time in 2023. There was definitely no significant dip in values market-wide at all. Don't believe anybody telling you that. DFW real estate has weathered the worst storms in the housing market anywhere in the country over its entire existence, as well, if not better, than just about any single real estate market in DFW. But as soon as I say that, I want to say it's not a single market. DFW real estate market is a group of 100+ markets. When it comes to value, you want to think as locally as you can. Your part of your street in your neighborhood or your area, and on and on and on and on. So I don't want to spend a ton more time on that, but I would go so far as to say DFW real estate values are not overvalued. Relative to the rest of the country, DFW is a wonderful place to live with unbelievable benefits. It's not a perfect place, of course, but all the opportunities and jobs and recreational resources and lifestyle benefits and all those things, it is still, relative to many other places, an affordable place to live. But from a mathematical perspective, most homes you would buy right now in DFW are selling at the highest prices they've ever sold for. So in that regard, it feels expensive, but I would argue that it is not overpriced. Others would obviously feel differently, but most of them would be people that are frustrated about what they're having to pay to buy property.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, like we have so many people that move here from other states because the value is more affordable here.
Yeah. And that was absolutely true 10 years ago, definitely 5 years ago. in the last 2 years, that's slowed a little bit because the gap in value has closed some, and I think will continue to close more and more. But it is still, compared to some of the other most popular parts of the country, an affordable place to live.
So DFW tops the U.S. in construction job growth, okay? Yep. So there's still a ton of space that people can be building in. So I guess I have a couple of questions for you. Do you think we're going to overbuild?
No.
And do you think we're going to build more businesses? Yep. Or do you think we're going to build more residential? Or do you feel like it's going to be fairly even? Like, what do you predict?
Let me reword your question and just make sure I'm doing it accurately. Commercial construction or residential construction?
Yeah.
Yep. So we are so far behind on residential construction that I don't think that certainly anytime in the near future that we're going to overbuild. There are some YouTube channels out there and some doomsday predictors that every day of every year are predicting the downfall of the housing market. And one of these days, eventually they'll be right. But there's no logical reason that Dallas, Fort Worth, anytime in the near future will have a real estate market downturn unless the entire, nearly the entire economy has some horrible outcome, which is certainly possible with wars and politics and interest rates and jobs and economies and all those things. Yeah, that could happen. But there's no reason to think that Dallas, Fort Worth specifically will underperform almost any other market. We have job growth. And so this construction related question is, are we going to outbuild? From a residential perspective, there's no reliable data that says we're going to outbuild demand anytime soon. On the commercial side, it's much more volatile. And again, commercial is a really big category. Are you talking about a gas station on the corner or a skyscraper? The big office type buildings are struggling right now for sure. The borrowing is almost non-existent in that regard. Tenancy and occupancy is down, demand is down, and anticipated to be down for a little while longer. So the building that's happening there is long-term or speculative, or it was committed to a few years ago, and it's in a really challenging spot right now.
What do you think is going to happen long-term with that? Like, that just kind of came to my mind. Like, are they going to end up tearing down a lot of these big office buildings? Because
not in Dallas, Fort Worth. No, because
even with occupancy so low?
Yeah, I think you're going to see income really struggle in that category. And again, commercial is not my area of expertise. Certainly commercial office is not. But I think there's enough data out there that says Dallas-Fort Worth is going to continue to grow. And it's going to continue to put more and more and more demand on housing and office. So I think ultimately what's going to happen is the development will slow. Demand will ultimately catch up and will rebalance. But I think it's going to be a rough ride between now and finding that new equilibrium in corporate office, big, we're leasing 8 floors of a building type stuff. There's just been a big time pullback on that. Borrowing for development and redevelopment has almost halted. So what you're going to see is the development of those things stop and the demand slowly catch up. I don't know how long that takes, but that's a rough rebalancing period. But I don't think you're going to see Dallas a ghost town like Detroit when the auto industry shifted and things like that. We're just too multifaceted, too many jobs being created, and still room for growth, like you just said a minute ago.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over, say, the next decade, because we obviously had the massive shift to people working from home, people working remotely. So I'm curious to know if that will reverse over the next 10 years as people become more like, I want to be around people.
Well, let me jump in there and just say this. My commentary on that, and I hate to give this away because this is one of my secret sauces right now. One of my favorite investment categories right now is small office buildings, right? And that's because of what we just said. There is both a squeeze on, hey, we're not going to lease 100,000 square feet anymore. So the companies are leasing less space. They're encouraging people to work from home more, but also people are getting a little sick of working from home. Not everybody, but some people. And so they might say, hey, I want to go into the office 1 or 2 days a week, or I want an office near the house. I'll pay for it myself, or my company's giving me a small stipend, $600, $700, $800 a month or whatever to go get out of the house every once in a while for an important meeting or whatever the case is. And I think there's movement towards that middle of the market for small office. 2,000 square feet or a single office or partial use office. I read the other day, the former owner of WeWork, who there were documentaries around all the craziness of that, but he's trying to buy it back. So all that to say, I think that the small office has room for opportunity. And I'll just throw this out there. If you or anybody owns a small office building, meaning like, 3,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet in the DFW area, and you want to sell that, reach out to us. Go to toddtramoniteteam.com or just call or text 214-310-0008. We don't specialize in marketing those for others, but we have great friends in the business that do. And I'm interested. I'm looking for properties like that. By the way, if you want a cash offer on your house, we'll definitely do that for you as well. Go to toddtramoniteteam.com or call or text 214-310-0008.
Last thing on the big office building, I had lunch with a buddy a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me that his office space that his company are in has room for like 50 to 75 people, and on a regular basis, there's 2. Yeah, him and one other person.
And to be clear, I don't want to name any names, but I have some great friends that are in that world, that literally the entities that they're connected with own skyscrapers and develop skyscrapers. I mean, it just sounds insane. But they have a clear plan to weather the short-term storm and do well long-term, and they have optimism about Dallas-Fort Worth. These are people that know a lot more about that sector than I do. There's reason to be optimistic about DFW really across the board as far as real estate is concerned. Obviously, different sectors act different ways, and the near term has been tough on that big commercial office, but they'll make it out. Not all the players in the industry will make it out, but I don't see any reality where DFW is just a ghost town of unused office space.
DP Lambert and Goosehead Insurance is who you need to reach out to if you have not looked at shopping your home insurance, your auto insurance recently. I've done so for years. Todd recently just did it not too long ago, and DP and his team will figure out what makes the most sense for you so you can get the best coverage at the best price, whether that's keeping things separate, whether that's bundling, using different companies, the same company. DP and his team will do all that research for you. dp.lambert, Lambert, dp.lambert@goosehead.com is his email. 214-614-8595 is his phone number. toddtramoniteteam.com. Click the radio tab is where you're going to find all of our recommended pros and vendors.
And I say this all the time, but the thing that I want, and I think many of our friends and listeners, and I know tons of our clients want, is an expert, right? And so DP is that. He and his team can be the person and the people that shop this for you all the time, that help you make the adjustments. I think our world is becoming less and less and less loyal, where people just want to go on the internet and compare rates and pick their insurance and whatever. If you're not that kind of person, or if that has not served you well, which for a lot of people that has not served you well, I think you should have a real estate I think it's a great idea anyway, to have a real estate professional, to have an insurance professional, a mortgage professional, and then these people take care of you for the next 20 years. You trust that they are the best at what they do. They'll shop and find you the best coverage and the best rates. They'll make adjustments. They'll call you. They'll take your call. They'll help you when things come up. And that's what DP and his team do specific to insurance. So why take on the burden of constantly shopping and trying to understand different coverages and different companies' marketing ploys and all this stuff? Just have a pro that will take care of you for years and years and years. dp.lambert@goosehead.com.
So there was a post that you were tagged in recently where somebody was interviewed about how he thinks the DFW will change their name to DFFW, with this other F being Frisco. Now, this is something you've been saying for a long time, and I remember seeing a thing at our church like a decade ago that was like, based on growth, this is what we think we're going to see.
I quote that all the time. Yeah. When our church opened, it kind of expanded north to the Collin County area, they used some data from some economic forecasters and paid for a little bit of a study. Really, it was a big study that was done, and then we paid for a specific relevant to us thing. And it talked about, and I've said this in tons of our YouTube videos, that Fort Worth might be the population center of North Texas. And at the time, they said 2035.
Frisco, not Fort Worth.
I'm sorry. You're right. I said that wrong. Frisco might be the population center of North Texas by 2035. Now, that still feels a little aggressive, but certainly I think, before too terribly long, in another generation or so, you might see Frisco not necessarily just the geographic center, but if you were to lay out where all the population disbursement is of North Texas, certainly of the Dallas side, Frisco might almost be the midpoint. So anyway, yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time. Somebody was interviewed, and it kind of made the rounds of social media and the real estate community of, oh, are we going to start calling it DFFW? Maybe so. I don't think so. These are called Metropolitan Statistical Areas, MSAs, and ours has been called Dalworthington for a long time. Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington. Those things rarely change, but when they do, it's because the statistics just force them to change. For example, Houston, I think, includes Sugar Land. It just happens to be sort of that little block. Now, Houston has annexed everything, so it includes everything. But that could change at some point in Dallas-Fort Worth, but I don't know that that's going to necessarily change the vernacular or the colloquialism or what people around here say.
What does it mean, though? Like, what does that mean if Frisco becomes the epicenter of the DFW Metroplex? Like, is that going to affect people? Is that going to change the way that we live on a day-to-day basis?
I think it changes.
Travel?
I think it changes the rhythms of things because you see highway construction, you see hospitals, you see airport, like the McKinney Airport is really preparing for there to be significantly more demand on that area as people reach north and east. DFW Airport's far, and Love Field becomes far, and all of a sudden the population of that area can support more healthcare, more travel, more, all these things.
We'll say the Sam Raymond Tollway is the most delightful of the tollways. There's never any traffic on it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Until the development. That's how George Bush was for so long. It was like, oh man, 190's wide open. Well, it's a little more congested these days. So yeah, that's how development works. And so yes, I think if that were to be true, yeah, it would change the fluidity of things. You'd see more concerts up there. You'd see more things drawing people up there. You'd see some of the resources of the region allocated up there. I don't think that means all of a sudden Dallas or Fort Worth or Arlington become less exciting from a growth perspective. Here, let me give you one example of this, by the way. As Arlington became Arlington, and as Arlington drew some of the professional sports teams, that absolutely changed the region. Where do you go to see a ball game? Where do you go for entertainment? Things like that. I think you'll see Frisco be more of a player in those kind of conversations and therefore be much more on the national stage. I don't know that people locally will start saying DFFW, but people will begin to think of Frisco as much more of an anchor of the community as opposed to something on the edge of the community. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't think a lot of people really care what the normal commentary is on what people call it. Like when you say I'm going to Chicago, it doesn't only mean you're going to the city limits of Chicago. It's you're going to that area. If you're saying you're going to New York, that doesn't only mean New York City. That may be more unique, but it's like LA. You're going to Southern California. You're going to that whole region. And I think that's what people mean when they say DFW. They don't only mean Dallas or Fort Worth. They might mean Frisco or Arlington or Mesquite. That's that.
Super home warranty really do help you sleep easy, knowing that if something was to go wrong in your house, something was to break, and you don't know who to call, they keep it really simple because you just reach out to them. And then they'll have one of their trusted vendors come over, and they will take care of the problem. And there's obviously some small fees included in all of that stuff. But you can find out all the information about home warranties and super home warranty by going to hellosuper.com. They have multiple different packages you can look into. They've got all the prices listed out on there on the website. Christine's been awesome taking care of our clients for years. All of our sellers use super home warranty before they go on the market, so we can make sure if something happens, it's covered and we can get it taken care of. Hellosuper.com is where you need to go. Hellosuper.com.
Yep. If you're thinking about buying or selling a house right now, we need to be on the phone. The market is challenging this year. There are some closing windows of opportunity. If you're a buyer and you're only buying, you have an unusually great opportunity right now. We don't always say that, but right now you have an unusually great opportunity for about 3 to 4 more weeks before spring break hits and the world sort of acknowledges that it is officially, formally spring. And typically, and we expect data-driven this year, we expect the real estate market to really pick up significantly after that. We expect that to coincide with some Federal Reserve rate cuts and some generally positive economic data, as well as the increasing hype and pomp and circumstance of a presidential election. So if you're a buyer, We believe our 2024 forecast says your best opportunity to get the best deal and the best opportunity is before spring break, which is weeks away. Now, if you're a seller and you're selling and buying, I would let that same timeline drive my motivation. If you're only selling, you can be a little more patient if you want to. I would try to take advantage of the most demand possible. But if you're a seller and you want to wait a little bit longer, that's fine. We think your best opportunity will be prior to back to school, meaning before the end of July, before that second week of August. Now, if life or finances or circumstances dictate that you can't follow that timeline, that's okay. We will still be here. We can customize a strategy to help you win anytime. But those are the most opportune times. That's where we think market data, market activity, consumer confidence, momentum in the marketplace are going to present the biggest opportunities for buyers and sellers and buyer-seller combos. So if that's you, reach out to us right now. 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008 or online at
ToddTremoneyTeam.com.
Our wonderful producer, Courtney, also head of research, sent me something that says, I looked up the most asked question in real estate.
Okay.
I don't know where she looked it up. We don't find that out.
Same internet you take all your facts
Could have been
from.
the internet, could have been a book, a magazine, a newspaper. We don't know. But she looked up the most asked question in real estate. And if you can believe it, it is... What is my home worth?
What is my home worth?
So for the thousands and millions of people that are looking that up,
yep.
What do they do?
Well, if I were you, and the burning question on my soul was, what is my house worth? I would go to ToddTremoneyTeam.com, and right there on the homepage, I would click the home value button or the seller button. Either one's going to give you some options to enter your address in and to find out, A, what it should sell for right now, how much equity you have in that house. You could click a single button and request a cash offer on your house. You don't have to take it. You can just see what somebody would pay for it right now. Or you could be on the phone or on Zoom or emailing or texting with a full-time professional who only specializes in selling houses for people and find out what marketing might be required, how much time it might take, and what you could get in what we would call a maximum marketing scenario, meaning we do everything possible to get the maximum money for your home. We actually guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time, and we could tell you what that could produce for you right now. All that starts at ToddTremoneyTeam.com. All you got to do is go to ToddTremoneyTeam.com, click on the home valuation tab, or click on the seller tab, and then ongoing in the future, it'll update you every month. This is how much equity you have. This is how much your home would sell for. And at any point, if you want a cash offer, you just click that button. If you want to get your home on the market, you click that button. If you just want to keep your eye on that data, you don't have to do anything at all. All that starts with one visit to ToddTremoneyTeam.com and just click that home valuation tab.
Google Todd Tremoney and check out over 700 5-star reviews.
Welcome back, party people. Welcome back to DFW Real Estate Weekly. If you ever miss an episode, by the way, don't do that. But if you miss an episode, if you miss a show, I want you to check out the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, just look up DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremoney. Very long name, so we're easy to find. DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremoney. Find us wherever you find your podcast. Not only are you going to get the radio show in podcast form, you're also going to get bonus episodes. We talk about homes on land. We talk about different areas in DFW. We talk about property value, preparing your home, protecting your property taxes, and we take a ton of listener questions and answer them right there. We've got some short episodes you can take in 5, 6, 7 minute chunks. You can catch a whole radio show there as well. So wherever you check out podcasts, check out DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremoney. And if we've added any value for you whatsoever, we would really appreciate a review and any feedback you have for us. So if you got a question right now, call or text 214-310-0008. If you have not yet saved that phone number in your phone, just save that in your phone under Todd Tremoney or Broker Todd or Todd Tremoney Real Estate, whatever you want to do. And anytime you have a question about a vendor, a repair, a remodel, buying, selling, a friend who's buying or selling, what a neighbor's house sold for, or any of those things, I'm telling you, call us or text us. We want to add value in your life. Even if you're not buying or selling right now, of course, we'd love to earn that business in the future if we're a fit for each other. But just call or text 214-310-0008, or you can always check out
DutchMoneyTeam.com.
PatrickGleros.com is where you're going to go to start your application, whether you're looking to get a mortgage, refinance, if you're looking to get a second property, third property, 87th property. I don't know. PatrickGleros.com is where you're going to go. 972-728-3420. And you can reach out to him there. PatrickGleros.com, Glaros. His entire team will help take care of you. NMLS number 308804.
They operate like we do, right? So it's a team. Therefore, you have multiple people with different gifts and abilities, all leaning in to give you the best of the best, whether you're borrowing, refinancing, purchasing an investment property, or maybe just scouting out your next potential buy or refi. Go to PatrickGleros.com.
So there was an article that came out in D Magazine. It was called "To Buy or Not to Buy."
To buy or not to buy?
And it was written by a real estate person.
How happy would you be if I went full Hamlet soliloquy right there? Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against and by opposing in them. Good.
I would leave. Wow. I would leave.
To sleep.
Courtney, if he does
to
that,
die.
I'm leaving and you're on.
No!
Yeah.
Nay. I'll stop.
All right, so the article was to buy or not to buy, and it's like no one has a crystal ball to predict what's going to happen, but it is important. The takeaway that I got from the article is like it's important that you keep tabs on what's going on.
Yep.
Don't just rely on articles. Don't just rely on single news stories or one voice, but like
Or the neighbors.
know what's going on. And so, you know, where do you stand on that? Because you know, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago for a little bit, but generally speaking, when a realtor, somebody in real estate,
Now.
exactly. So like, how can somebody that isn't doing this all day every day, how can they like determine whether or not it's actually good or not? Because all they're going to hear from realtors is yes.
Well, this is an awkward transition. Now. Yes, buy now. Okay. I really mean that. I mean, buy spring break. And I think you can buy after that. You'll be fine, but you will be better off before spring break. Now, I'll explain that again in a minute. We talk about it every week here this year because we think this is a closing window of opportunity. I'll explain why. But I think when you find a source you can trust, it's going to be because, A, they're local. They're talking about your market and not just the broad general real estate world out there. But also, you notice at times they'll say, this time would be better than that time, or hold on right now. You know, there is some nuance to what they're saying. Now, one thing is, we said this a few weeks ago, I would not fault a real estate agent who's almost always saying buy now, because historically speaking, the value of real estate is always going up. Now, it's not literally always going up. Doesn't go up every single day. Neither does your stock portfolio or the price of gold or aluminum.
Aluminium,
as they say, crevasse, as they say. Now, here's the thing. Generally speaking, though, the long-term arc of value, the chart of real estate value long-term, residential real estate or real property of almost any kind, is going up. There are very few periods of time, meaning a 1-year period, a 5-year period, a 20-year period, that you can take Dallas-Fort Worth area residential real estate and see any loss of value at all over the entire history of it. Now, clearly you could argue, well, this other asset class went up over this period, or it did go down over this period, or it was flat over this period. Sure, all those nuances exist, but long-term, residential real estate values are going up. Therefore, now is almost always the best time to buy if you want or need to buy, because now is probably the most affordable time you'll be able to buy for the rest of your life. Now, that doesn't mean that you are prepared now, or that your family's ready, or that you have the money, or that you have the time and energy or whatever. So now is not always the best time for everybody. But from a math perspective, now is almost always the best time. So you have to be careful just to people that blindly say that. But also, it doesn't mean they're wrong. I think when you find someone who's willing to listen to you and ask you questions about your specific wants and needs and situation and give you advice that proves to be accurate, certainly sounds and feels accurate, then you're on to something. That's what we do. Now, on the radio show, obviously, we're talking to a lot of people, or on the podcast or YouTube channel. But at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team, which is what we do all day, every day, when we sit down with a client in what we call a free strategy session, We actually ask just as many questions as they do so that we can understand the situation, help determine availability, realistic rate of, how likely is it to get you what you want, and then when would be the best time to go do that. Right now, we think buying before spring break is the unique opportunity window for buyers in 2024 because we believe as rates come down, as the stereotypical traditional spring increase in housing demand comes out, we're going to see more buyers competing with more buyers. And therefore, we're going to see home prices go up. Even if we see rates come down a little bit, we think you'd be better off buying before that surge and either being happy with what you've got, or if rates do come down significantly later, then you would have the opportunity to refinance. If they don't come down and prices go up, it's going to be worse than if, you got a slightly better deal on a house, which we just don't see any current data saying that the value of homes is going to come down this year at all. Certainly anytime in the near term.
I have good news.
Okay, I like good news.
I didn't have any issues with any title companies this week.
Man, can you imagine that? Now let me ask you why.
Well, I didn't have to deal with any of the title companies other than Republic Title this week.
And there's the answer, because all the deals we did this week were the Republic Title, and they did their job phenomenally well.
Turns out they're really good at what they do. Like one of the leaders in the industry.
Absolutely. If I'm buying or selling my house, they are on the contract. This year, I had 2 closings on 2 deals so far. Republic Title, both times.
RepublicTitle.com is where you can go and find out all the information about all the services that they offer. RepublicTitle.com, 972-423-8777. And go to touchfrommyteam.com. You can click that radio tab and you can find all the recommended pros and vendors on that page. Okay, let's talk about last week. We talked about kind of 7 things that people should be thinking about looking at when it comes to raw land.
Yep.
Let's just talk about land in general.
Okay.
What are some of the pros and cons of buying land as an investment in Texas?
Okay, I'm going to say something so stereotypical. This will probably get clipped out and used to make me look dumb on other things. But people say this, they've been saying it forever, and they're true. It's right. They are not making any more of it. Okay? So when people are like, is land a good investment? Yes. Why? Because they're not making any more of it. In my heart, in my little boy, want to grow up and be a cowboy, heart, not football player, Western ride horses and live out on the range.
Yeehaw.
Yep. My dream, my whole life has been to have a really big piece of property, quote, in the olden days when you could do that. That's going away. The ability to go piece together hundreds or thousands of acres is just every single day that opportunity goes away. As big chunks of land get chunked down into smaller chunks of land, lots, commercial properties, smaller parcels of land. So when you talk about, what are the benefits of buying land? Number one, it is an asset class that is more and more difficult to own almost every day, right? There's X amount of it. Now, if I was joking, I could say they are making more of it in Dubai. They have literally dropped massive steel sheets down into the ocean and filled it with sand and soil and created islands that weren't there before. But that costs billions and billions of dollars. It's not exactly a super cost-effective way to develop, and most of us are not going to participate in that. So in that regard, as people accumulate more and more land, as large parcels of land are broken into smaller parcels, owning land is just a more and more difficult thing to do. It's harder to come by. Therefore, if you own it, there's a natural scarcity, there's an increased demand, and there's an almost forever historical increase in value. Of course, there's anomalies and there's loss of value at times, but that is the first thing that comes to mind when you say, what are the advantages? Why would people do it? The other thing is it has multiple uses. So if you buy most things, they basically have one or very few uses. Land could be residential, it could be commercial, it could be single family, it could be multifamily, it could be recreational, it could produce a crop, it could produce other potential water sourcing and things like that. It has a versatile future use, even with zoning, things can be changed. And it has a hedge against other investments because as a real property, real asset with real utility, you can touch it, feel it, it's not going anywhere. it outperforms other asset classes and is preferred by a lot of people for those reasons.
Just totally random, but you made me think of it when you said about building the islands
Mm-hmm.
in Dubai. Have you seen the thing that they're building in Saudi Arabia? They're called the Line.
Yes, it's
Crazy.
bananas. Like straight through the desert. It's going to be like its own world.
It's gonna be.
How many people does it say that thing will house?
I'll find it.
It's an unbelievable number. It's like a giant, shiny glass aluminum exterior structure straight through the desert.
9 million people.
Ultimately, they think it could potentially be like its own society of up to 9 million people.
No roads, no cars, no emissions.
All inside.
100% renewable energy, stretching across 170 kilometers.
Full
It's gonna
price
be
Courtney.
500 meters above sea level.
Her jaw is metaphorically on the floor right now. Not because of how cool this is, but simply because I actually knew what Ian was talking about. Not really. Anyway, it's called The Line. Not super relevant to DFW real estate, but listen, folks, we've got our finger on the pulse of the world of real estate. I don't think you thought you were going to stump me with that one,
No, I didn't.
but
I figured you would have known about it.
yeah,
It just reminded me about it.
That's a big enough, cool enough thing. Who knows if it'll ever officially happen? They have started to build it already.
Yeah.
But who knows if that will actually be a draw to 9 million people. But in a way, it's a massive show of wealth. But it's an interesting thing.
All right,
So,
now let's see if we can stump you. I got you last week, for sure. Ready?
okay.
What were the first real estate agents called?
Ooh, I don't know this one. What were the what are we talking about?
Like in the early 1900s.
Early 1900s, what were the first real estate agents called?
I would go so far as to say those weren't the first agents if it was in the early 1900s. But I'm going to say property agents. I don't know.
Curbstoners.
Curbstoners. I need some curbstoners in high school, if you know what I mean.
This is Courtney's new game that she's playing called
Curbstoners. I'm not
where
even
she's
sure
sending
that's
me
accurate.
the answer. See, this is what we're going to experience, though, Courtney. We're
Yeah.
going to give him the answer, and then every week he's
Yeah.
going to go,
This
I'm not
is-
even sure if that's the actual real answer.
This is
That's not
from
the answer I would have said.
randotrivia.biz. Just kidding. I didn't.
There you
I've
go.
never heard that term in my life. So you got me. You stumped Todd.
Very happy about that. All right, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. So the most homes that were sold in 1 year was 6,438 homes. How is that even possible?
Well, I know who did that, and I'm not going to say the name because they're not in the same business as us. There's a web portal that home builders can use, and technically they log as a sale, even though they're really just sort of like a published
Sneaky.
process deal. By the way, the guy who did that is brilliant, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but that's not what we do. So let's talk about how unique of an opportunity being a real estate agent on the Todd Tremonti home selling team is. And obviously I'm biased. This is my opinion. I believe it's fact, but you take it for whatever it's worth. Typically when people think about being a realtor or getting into real estate, they think getting a license, pretty much being on their own and connecting with friends and family members and people that live in their areas and learning the property types and learning, how to negotiate and learning how to fill out the contracts, and all that's fine. But I would go so far as to say that is barely scratching the surface of what it takes to be a true world-class consultant and advisor, leader, guide, protector of a home buyer or a home seller. On our team, those roles are specialized. Agents only work with buyers or they only work with sellers. And so if a client is both selling and buying, they get two specialists who work together for the client and with each other, plus our staff and our leadership and all of our training. Plus, we coach agents all over North America and consult with them. Therefore, we have the added benefit of this incredibly diverse board of advisors who are gathering information about industry and norms and movements and momentum and technology and systems and structure, value to the client. So we're basically living out this constant research project of how do we add value for the client, and we live that out every single day. If you're thinking about getting a real estate license or you've gotten one in the last year or so, and that sounds really attractive to you, and maybe you haven't gotten going yet, or you joined a group or a brokerage where it's just not the right fit for you, then we may be a fit for you. We're definitely not a fit for everyone. This is not the only way to do it, but we think this is the best way to add value to the client. And we are the kind of people The trophies in our office are the success stories and the life transformation of our clients when they're selling at record-breaking prices, buying low, getting simple, smooth, easy transactions where they, their family, and their finances are benefiting from the work that we do as we lead and guide them. If that fires you up, we would love to talk to you about that, whether you have a license already or not. We typically look for folks without a license or have recently gotten a license. And we have an incredible training program. It's a 6-week deep dive training program. It's the exact same thing we train our agents on, and we train agents all over North America. So go to toddtremonteteam.com, or you can just call or text 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008, or you can find the careers page at
toddtremonteteam.com.
All right, today's February 24th, so that means that we're going to be on spring break in the next 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere right around there.
3-ish, I think, for most people, but 2 to 4, let's
and
call it.
And you've been saying that if the best that you've been saying that the best time to buy is going to be before spring break. Is that even doable anymore?
Yeah, it is doable, and I still believe it's the best thing. Now, if you're thinking, hey, we want to sell and buy and we're not ready yet, don't panic. I'm not telling you that you can't buy or sell after spring break. I'm just telling you spring break tends to be the tipping point when most people that are going to buy and sell enter the market. There's just a stereotype that everybody moves spring and summer. Obviously, there's some reasons if you have children in school that people aim to move during the summer. I'm just telling you, I've been saying it all year. I've been saying it since late last year, that we believe that will be your best opportunity in 2024. We still think that. There will be opportunity after that, and our team for sure can customize a plan to help you buy, sell, or both after spring break. But if you've been wanting to do that, you've been busy, you hadn't pulled the trigger yet, or you're hearing me and this is making sense to you and you want to take advantage of the best opportunity, save some money, have a better opportunity to get the house you want, call us right now. 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008. We guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. We also guarantee we'll save you at least $5,000 throughout the purchase process of buying a home. Let's do both. toddtremonteteam.com. Now, once you buy that home, I want to tell you about goodgaragefloors.com. If you're looking at your garage and there's some cracking in there, or you got a bunch of stains in there, there's some weird smells, or maybe you enjoy working or crafting or something out in the garage, and you want to tidy it up, pretty it up, and make it more effective, safer, goodgaragefloors.com does exactly what their name tells you they do. They do all sorts of incredible, beautiful, safe, secure, protective coatings on garage floors. They also can do sport courts, pool decks, all sorts of other concrete coatings, but they specialize on those garage floors. Check out goodgaragefloors.com. Tell them Todd Tremonti sent you. They did one of our garages just 4, 5, 6 weeks ago now. We're loving it. As a matter of fact, my wife didn't think she was going to care about it at all, and all of a sudden she's really in love with it because of how clean it is and how easy it is to clean if something gets on it, like dirty cleats from your kids. So check them out, goodgaragefloors.com, of course, for your garage floor coatings, but also for any other concrete coatings that you might want or need. Check them out.
If you haven't checked out your home valuation recently, do so by going to toddtremonteteam.com, clicking that radio tab, clicking the home valuation tab. You can also go to valuethishouse.com if that's easier, valuethishouse.com. Less than 60 seconds, you'll be able to find out what your home is worth, what it would rent for, sell for. You can reach out about a cash offer. And if you have any other questions, it is an opportunity. There's a way that you can just click a button and it will reach out to us. Go to valuethishouse.com or toddtremonteteam.com and click that home valuation tab.
And if you can't spell Tremonti, that's okay. Just Google us. You'll find us. We got all kinds of pages and websites and videos and links and articles and things that over the last 20-something years, books we've written, podcasts we've been guests on, podcasts I host, and all those things. There's a lot of information out there. Don't want you to be overwhelmed by it, but if you are ready to talk to somebody about buying, selling, investing, or getting some helpful resources, literally put this number in your phone and call or text when we can help. We want to help. We feel that's our God-given gift and ability. That's why we've chosen this line of work. We love to be of value to you. 214-310-0008 or toddtremonteteam.com. It's TRAMONTE, by the way. But if you Google us, get close enough, you'll find us. we would love to add value for you. If you are looking forward to spring and summer and you're wanting to get out in the backyard and have a crawfish boil, we were talking about that in the office, or grill some burgers or jump in the pool or hang out with friends outside with the kids or friends or whatever, you're going to want to get your landscaping dialed in now. Don't wait too late till everyone storms all the landscaping companies too late and the prices go up and the timelines get longer. Go to Keen Landscaping right now, Keane, KeenLandscaping.com. You can ask for Parker Keene, my buddy over there, one of the owners. Tell him Todd Tremonti sent you. That's Keane, KeenLandscaping.com. Don't wait too late. Don't miss the beautiful part of spring and early summer where it's fun to be outside. That's KeenLandscaping.com. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and I would if I was you, I certainly am, we are thrilled to gift to you at no charge, no obligation, a free strategy session. We can do that on the phone, by Zoom, or best case in the office. If you come into the office, we'll even buy you your favorite cup of coffee or Coke or water, or Topo Chico, whatever you're into. Just go to toddtremontiteam.com, or you can call or text 214-310-0008 and just request or type or say strategy session, and we'll get you set up so you have a game plan in mind for your real estate wants and needs and dreams and goals this year or beyond, so you can sleep like a baby at night knowing that you've got all your ducks in a row. You know what's going on. You know what's realistic and what's achievable, instead of the anxiety or nervousness or, prolonging the process. Let's get all that figured out in a free strategy session right now. ToddTremontiTeam.com.
Google Todd Tremonti and check out over 700 5-star reviews.